Okay, good morning, everybody. This is day 2 on the discussion. I'll try to make it quick. Last night I spoke about something that is just a regular thing that's going on in the city right now. But I did mention my friend Will, who told me uh, this last year. Now, he told me this a while ago. I never mentioned it before. But it was when he was in town, an officer that he knew, and this has happened a lot, but he ran into Will when he was on his bike. This is all on video. He was going to get Thomas J. Henry and all get a lawsuit, but Will was almost killed. All right. This is not one. This is many. Now, today in the news this morning, we had an officer shooting. Someone was killed early this morning, Saturday morning. And so that's just an incident that's not normal, but obviously that person shot at the cops. It was a domestic disturbance, and he was killed, whoever that person was this morning. Those are, incidents that I don't blame anyone for. One that comes to my mind, but this is one of many. And this is not to just disparage Chief Markle. This is to say, look at something that's a problem here. This last year, just me reading the news every day, there was maybe a 50-year-old man. I don't have to give the name. I don't remember it because this is common. And so I read the news to see these cases. And he was involved in some criminal activity, whatever it was. And then in the news, the local news, which is KIII, KRAS, and also Caller Times online, said in that case, the cops had caught up to him and he was shot and killed, and he was killed. It was a murder. Okay, so I'm reading it from the news, and then the story was the man had a gun when they confronted him. It was in town in an alley or whatever, and then he ran. And then when the man ran, the officers caught up to the man, and you would be assuming that the man pointed a gun or shot at them. And so he was shot by the officers and he was killed. Now, in the same article that day, and the next day, they said they're also still searching for the gun because they believed when he was running, he had tossed the gun. Well, you don't have to be an investigator for this. If he tossed the gun when he was running and there was a foot chase, and then when he was shot and killed, he had no gun. I know that. That wasn't some secret information. Then they said, as procedure is, the officers are going to be on administrative leave from the investigation. But because that man, I guess he was 50, he had no family advocated for him. That was it. That was it. That case is closed. Now, that's one. So you shot that man that night, killed that man, and that man didn't have a gun because you and the media reported he didn't have one. The media reported that they were still searching for the gun the next day. There was never a report that a gun was ever found. Two things you glean just from what I told you. The man was killed and he didn't have a gun. Second, there was never a report that there was ever a gun. That's done, over, cleaned. 2 days later, move on to the next. Now, in a normal community, you have someone that's killed that does not have a gun. You're going to either get fired or there's going to be an investigation. Here, it goes on and happens again. And then you move on to the next one. The difficulty of my friends that have been hit by officers, there's been more than one. There has been more than one homeless friend. Wild Bill, on his bicycle here in Flower Bluff, was hit by a cop riding his bike. He knew the name of the officer. It's public knowledge, except in police reports, it's not public knowledge. The fire department showed up. Bill's last name, he's on my videos. Wild Bill Bill, I forget Bill's last name. The fire department showed up. You know, they had to treat him. He wasn't injured real badly. But this was an officer that was in his private vehicle that ran into a homeless person on a bicycle. This might be 2 years ago. Then Will was in town, hit by a cop on his bike, almost killed, went into a ditch. I have a girl right here, sweet girl, a picture. She was on the overpass. I think her name is Crystal. I didn't know her that well. She was a sweet girl, though. She was hit, kind of tragic, you know, the boyfriend or the husband seen her hit. They were going to do the thing. So when they were hit, of course, there was zero. The point is this. Every homeless person that gets hit and killed, some are not reported at all. Nothing. Zero. And so what does that do? Some that are here in this city that are very tired of the problems that they have with the homeless have license. If you run them over, kill them, nothing. No charge, nothing. And I highly doubt there's a report. So now when you add all that in, and when I mentioned the Caleb Harris case, I had my questions whether that missing college student, as of this video, he's not found. I have doubts or questions that he was a victim of that. Somebody that's out, multiple. This is not a one time, and it's not a one time where an officer hit and run over a homeless guy. It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing. How many incidents are you going to have where an off-duty cop runs in or runs over a homeless guy? This is almost unbelievable to me. Now, when I talked about this in the past, I said the group that was affiliated online on Facebook, Taking Back the Bluff, what they did was they got me mad. These videos are still online. I'd sit by the water. I'd be with the friends. Till this day, they're out every day still. And if they see a homeless person, it began them beeping the horns and so forth. But then it began them running closer to them. Then it began them stalking them in the evenings, riding around, hitting the dumpsters by them. And every now and then, people are run over and killed. So you're not talking one. In the last 7-8 years, there might have been 25 that were run over and killed that you have no idea about. Now, when you start demeaning it, see, if the people that are doing all that, and some in that group are cops, meaning the group called Taking Back the Bluff, which is a prominent group on Facebook, their goal and mission statement is to do all things legally possible to make the homeless uncomfortable, to get rid of them from the streets of Flower Bluff, Corpus Christi. Now, I believe it's very possible that when they realized they're working together, trying to do good in the community, that some of them got so mad that they said, we're going to have to do what we got to do. And I question whether or not they targeted this college student, not knowing he was a college student, because this is the area where all these hit and runs take place that are not even documented. So I'm assuming, or I guessed, that maybe they seen him out sort of like maybe drunk or something, or partying or something, out in the creek area. The local media reported he was walking like at 3 a.m. He would be very easily seen. There's one. Let's get him. Now, if that happened, and you watch the family of Caleb Harris, if you read the local news, they are not trusting local media anymore. They came out a few weeks ago and said, we believe, the family of Caleb Harris said, we believe that the local media has not helped our case. It's diminished our case. And we're therefore, the father went on Nancy Grace and so forth. Why would he say something like that? They know something is up. And it might be what I had mentioned to you. You go and look at my video titled Missing in Corpus Christi, Texas, Caleb Harris. They know something might be up there. Now, though the local media reported, we looked at all the videos and so forth, and we made a big effort, the police and everything. But if it's something that somebody knows, he's a person that's involved in vigilante justice and he's friends with the cops or Chief Markle or whatever, you'll never see that video. It's possible there are videos that evening of someone that got hit, run over. Maybe someone came back, picked that body up, threw it in the truck. You say, well, there'd be videos. Not if it's covered up. Not if there's nobody putting pressure on it. The man that, the one case I just gave you, I didn't even know his name. Well, if he was shot and killed, and then the news reports they're still looking for the gun, and then there's a report there's never was found a gun. Well, that means you have to have some discipline there. What happened, John? Nothing. It could happen again and again and again and again. So now I have made many videos discussing these issues over the last 7, 10, 12 years. I have videos when they me videotaping vehicles of these people after they kept messing with me, sitting down by the water. And to me, they beep, 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 beep. One time an officer, he shouldn't have done it. He swerved his vehicle in a cop car. I sit by the water, and I was sitting on the street area, not under the bridge, and 2 cop cars come up, and one swerved into the lane where it's a parking lane. And I'm in my chair, and he's coming up to me in that parking lane. I'm thinking, oh, they're going to stop. And then the last second, he swerves back into the street. Now, just the fact that you were pissed for some reason, and you thought, oh, here's that guy, let's make it look like we're going to hit him. You're on duty, brother. What the F kind of discipline do you have? If you have an officer on duty that's mad at me, and he fakes that he's going to run into me during the day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because he's in the parking thing, 2 cop cars come up, and he pulls into where the vehicle's parked on the side of the road. I'm in my chair, pulling up to me, then swerves out. What discipline? You tell me what discipline. What community in the city do you have that regularly happen? So now, I understand, Chief, you put on a good face. And so I have no ill will toward the shooting that happened this morning. A man was killed. They didn't give the name. But it is this culture you have. You should have come out to the public and given us the definitive investigation of the man that was killed, that there was no gun found. You should have explained to us why was that man shot and killed, and obviously he didn't have the gun on him according to the report, because they said you are still searching for the gun. Well, if you're running down an alley and the cop's chasing you and you don't have a gun on you, how did he get killed? They were mad. The cops were pissed because an altercation did happen that evening. And so at that point, they're chasing him to kill him. And they killed him. And your own report in the media said they're looking for the gun. They believe he tossed it. And first, even if you found the gun later, that meant he didn't have it on him when he was killed. This is one of many. So I believe that this type of corruption has crossed the line, and I don't know how many murders have taken place over these last 10, 12 years that are out and out just killing, that run that guy over, kill that one. Oh, I have friends who do. You know how many dead bodies are buried where I live? This is a sandy, it's called Flower Bluff, and it actually is a bluff, and it's full of sand. And so over the years, I don't personally know where all these bodies are buried, but it's a very big murder area. My friends that did a lot of time in prison, many of them over the many years, he said, John, Corpus Christi is known for murder. He said that the Houston guys that are in prison and Corpus guys and Dallas guys, a lot of them go to prison. They said they would tell the Corpus guys, you got too many murders, even though they're criminals. So now, the laxity of the sweet girl Crystal run over tragically at the top of the bridge here. Nothing. You have so many. It lowers the bar. If I was an off-duty officer I would be careful because in a normal municipality, if you run into a homeless guy 2 or 3 or 4 different times over a period of 6 years, you're going to get cited for that. You're going to get a pedestrian, you injured a pedestrian or killed him. There's nothing here. You could do it multiple times. So my belief is that they put on a good face. And the chief comes out, I read his article just now, Saturday morning. Said, well, we're going to investigate. I'm sure it's a domestic thing. I don't believe there's anything wrong, as far as I know, in this incident. It's the other ones that I'm telling you about. It's the other ones that I'm telling you about. You cannot have the brazenness of any department anywhere that feels like they have license to kill. And I get the sense here that that's how they feel. That's the sense I get. I believe that there have been many homeless that have been killed out here. Many. And I never said for sure that it was particular ones that were killing each and every one of them. But when you look at the cases and you look at no reports on it, never an arrest, a DUI of any homeless that are killed or run over. But in a normal pedestrian hit and run, well, you have searching for the vehicle. It's on the local news. You want to find it. Oftentimes you find the truck a week later. The guy fled the scene. But for the homeless, hit and runs, kills, 0. Never an arrest. In the 10 years, and so many that have been hit, run, killed, it's because the police report can simply say this. We know the homeless cross the street at the wrong spots and so forth. Therefore, they know it's so simple to say, show up, cop shows up, says there's someone in the street, they ask the person, they cross the street or whatever. So they know that they can do that because there is 0 accountability for that. So, in those cases, you got blood in your hands. That's called murder. You cannot have a prosperous community if you have people murdering people, simply put. Now, even the one case I gave you, at this stage, that should have been dealt with. It was quickly, they laugh at this. Like you think we're going to get in trouble just because we killed somebody because we were mad that night on a foot pursuit. It's like a joke to them. So it's a criminal corruption crisis in Corpus Christi. The chief had resigned or retired a few years ago. I'm not sure if the city manager who came out of San Antonio, Peter Zanoni, I'm not sure if he's aware of what's going on. But there's a reason he had retired. It was not a normal retirement because the way it was written, something happened. But then he came back and is chief of police again. But if you're going to be chief of police, chief, the one case I gave you, you said you all weren't investigating it. The one I mentioned on this, we, the public, want to know, why was that man killed if he didn't have a gun on him? Give an accountability. You're building a retirement. I made videos in front of Chief Markle's house, just like these. The chief lives not too far from where I live. My friend used to live on his block. You have not given accountability for any of those because all of that is brushed under the rug. Today, I'm mad, not about appraisals. I'm mad about the corruption that's in the city. I'm mad about people that get killed or a family that's wondering, how could my son, who is simply attending college, not be found? Well, if people are not showing the videos of what happened because they know, they look in the video, oh, that's someone we know, therefore that'll never be resolved if that's what's going on with that. So in a way, maybe it'll be used to shine some light on this area. So I'm going to upload this. I'm putting him on various sites, but I want the public to be aware that this city of Corpus Christi is not a normal functioning city where I had a friend of mine, John Montgomery, passed away. John Montgomery used to work for political campaigns in Chicago. And John was a very educated man. John Montgomery also wrote editorials in the Corpus Christi Caller Times. You know, John, when he came back, he grew up in South Texas, but went on in his life, became like a journalist, political, came back, he was going to continue his newsletter and pamphlets and all. But John passed away. But John told me he was in Walmart parking lot, just coming in, I think when he was coming from California, new to the area. And the cops had stopped him. One of his ideas, well, what for? We don't know who you are. What are you doing here? So I'm moving to Corpus Christi, Texas. Well, we just don't know who you are. You know, sort of like, you think you can just come to this city without us messing with you? He said he never had that happen before. John also had his wallet stolen when he was in a Circle K parking lot in Corpus Christi on Waldron Road in SPID. Some of John was friends with the homeless community like I am. And so one of them took his wallet. He called the cops. Where are you? I'm at the Circle K on SPID in Waldron. What happened? Well, somebody stole my wallet. They said, well, what's your address? I said, well, I'm in a vehicle. They said, well, if you're not at an address or cannot give us an address, you cannot file a police report. He said, what do you mean? He said, my wallet was just stolen. They said, sir, if you don't have an address. That was before John got in a trailer, rented trailer in Flower Bluff with another friend, a veteran. So they told him on the phone, if you do not have a physical address, you cannot report a crime. Now, say if a homeless guy without a physical address says, you just killed my friend. I seen him run over, or they came down to the camp, they beat him with bats and killed him, and the other homeless friend calls the cops and says, they just murdered my friend. Do they tell him? Well, what is your address? Well, they just murdered Bill here. And I was here, 3 came down in pickups. I want to report that my friend was just killed here in the camp. They said, do you have an address? Well, no, I'm homeless. Well, you can't file a criminal complaint. Now you tell me if this is not corruption. You tell me when I see the chief give a public face, like today, we're investigating, you tell me, chief, how that is acceptable.